Hello everyone, today I want to talk about human rights. So what is a human right? Human right is the right enjoyed by every human, right? So human has a right. You can claim your right against the state or government. You can ask your state to protect you. You can ask the state to prevent others from abusing your human rights. So you can ask the state to protect and prevent any abuse of your human rights. Also, you can claim for remedies against the states too. So this is the human rights. You as a human has a right to claim a right against any state violations or protect yourself from other abusers. So these human rights can be defined broadly or narrowly. It can include civil and political rights, economic, social, cultural rights, or it can be narrowly defined to include just the civil and political rights. Civil and political rights is your right to vote, right to freedom, and then it's more like ask a state from doing something, so it can be called the negative rights. However, economic, social, cultural rights is more like you can ask the state to provide something. For example, right to education, ask the state to provide the education. Right to health, ask the state to provide some health. So these human rights can have many different meanings, but basically it's the right to protect your fundamental freedom and well-being. That's the human right. And these human rights can be enjoyed by just one individual or as a group. So these human rights can be asserted by just you, or it can be asserted by as a group, as a local people, or as an indigenous group. So these days, human rights has many different meanings. And human rights also reflect a culture too. So depending on which country you are located in, your human right can have a different meaning. In the United States, your basic human rights is more like a civil and political rights, because U.S. Constitution protects more like a civil and political rights. It actually protects a negative right, but it doesn't really guarantee the economic, social, cultural rights. It doesn't actually ask governments to provide certain kind of benefits to you. So that's why U.S. did not ratify the International Covenant on Economic, Social, Cultural Rights. So human rights traditionally has been hidden under the veil of state sovereignty. So until 1945, no country actually doesn't want to interfere with the other country's sovereignty to interfere with their human rights issues. So each country actually was designed to protect their own citizens' human rights. However, the situation changed after the establishment of United Nations in 1945. As an international law, the United Nations Charter actually told each state to protect its citizens' human rights. So Preamble and Article 1 and Article 55, Article 56 of the United Nations Charter asked each state to protect its own citizens' human rights. However, these human rights in the United Nations Charter doesn't provide a very specific right to each citizen. So in 1948, United Nations General Assembly adopted a resolution called the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. So usually, resolution by United Nations General Assembly has no binding authority, primary authority of law. However, a lot of scholars these days believe that many of these Universal Declaration of Human Rights became international custom, which actually binding the states to abide by it. However, even Universal Declaration of Human Rights does not provide more implementing measures. It doesn't really provide very specific details of each right, even if it has many different rights contained in, including human right to education, human right to life, human right to vote, human right to assembly. It actually includes many different kinds of rights. So we normally try to find the basic right we can claim against the state in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. So the countries actually try to provide more details about these human rights. So in 1966, countries actually concluded two treaties which provide more details about human rights. That is ICCPR and ICESCR. ICCPR is International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, and ICESCR is the International Covenant on Economic, Social, and Cultural Rights. So ICCPR is more about civil and political rights. It provides a right to vote, right to life, right to freedom, right to equal protection. And the International Covenant on Economic, Social, and Cultural Rights provides a more positive rights, so ask states to provide something, for example, right to work, right to labor, right to education, right to health, things like that. So we normally combine these three documents as International Bill of Rights. So whenever you have a certain human rights issues, we always try to apply these three documents: Universal Declaration of Human Rights, International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, and International Covenant on Economic, Social, and Cultural Rights. So there are many other treaties actually came out after that. So CEDAW, International Convention on the Elimination of Discrimination Against Women, and then CLD is a Convention on the Rights of Child, CLC actually, and then CLPD, Convention on the Right of Persons with Disabilities, and also there is a Migrant Workers Treaty. So there are actually many human rights treaties came out after 1960s. And then many countries actually signed and ratified those treaties. So there is a human rights legal system you can apply. It actually pierces the state sovereignty and apply to the each state's citizens. So whenever your constitution or your law does not provide very specific human rights concepts or legal rights, then you can creatively apply the international. So this is it. This is the international human rights system. So okay, so let me explain more about human rights legal system next time. So hopefully this was helpful to understand the human rights system today. Thank you.